Hi again guys, and welcome to episode 6 of B-Road Ballers on Forza Horizon 3 in particular, and in this pick we're covering a vehicle which isn't as popular as some of the more obvious choices like the Ford Focus RS or the Lancia Delta. It's more of a performance sleeper. It's the Vauxhall Astra VXR. Now the question is, of course, for those who maybe haven't bought the car or maybe do own one, maybe you've won one on the prize wheel but haven't tuned it, you want to know what kind of capabilities does it have potential, how good is this car? Well, in terms of spec, it's not an overly strong car. In stock form it's pretty good. It's got 276 horsepower, almost 300 pound-feet of torque, which isn't bad, but the fact that it is reasonably big and front-wheel drive doesn't help. It kind of suffers from the same cornering issues as other large front-wheel drive hatchbacks like the Megane and the Focus RS. Not that they're bad, but that they can quite easily be outmaneuvered by stuff like a Clio Williams or a Lancia Delta, of course, which has far less power but the advantage of all-wheel drive, and that front-wheel drive requires attention. In stock form, it's not going to win very much. In tuned form, what kind of potential does it have? Well, that's kind of the letdown for the Astra, because even fully tuned, it's got no way near the power or performance of many of the other hatches. Less than 600 horsepower isn't bad. It's a lot for a hatchback, but in the broad scheme of things on Forza Horizon, that's a pretty substantial disadvantage to have. So the question is, does it have any use? Because for 25,000 credits, it could potentially be a good sleeper or have some perhaps rallying use or more of a grip vehicle rather than a straight line one. Well, let's get into our individual scores and talk more about it. Well, first of all, we have the handling, and for the handling, not too surprisingly given my comments, I'm going to give it a 3. And to put that into perspective, that's actually the same score that I gave to the 2009 Focus RS. So it's not bad. That's not a bad score at all. I love that Focus. But as I said, it's a big car. The front-wheel drive does not cope with the torque that well, especially on uphill sections and tight corners, and you simply cannot get the power down as efficiently as an all-wheel drive or even rear-wheel drive hatchback can. As far as acceleration goes, I'm actually going to give it another 3, because unfortunately, unlike vehicles like the Megane and the Focus, it just doesn't have the tuning potential. Not that it deserves, I would say. The acceleration isn't bad, especially when you convert it to all-wheel drive, but it can quite easily be beaten. Even in fully tuned form, there are a ton of hatchbacks which can easily outrun this car in a straight line. And of course, that also leads us on to top-end performance, and for top-end, I'm unfortunately going to have to give it a 2. It's not great, and the fact that it doesn't have the power options and engine conversion options which it deserves to have is leading into that. Why should the Ford Focus have those options and the Astra doesn't? It's kind of a shame, because this car should be every bit as good as cars like that can be, but it's just not given that opportunity. As far as value for money goes, I'm actually going to bump it up to another 3 again, because even though it's far from being the best of hatchbacks, it can be used to race with, especially in lower classes, given that it's B class to begin with, and for 25,000 it does offer good stock power and stock torque to work with. So it's not bad value, but don't expect it to beat everything it comes up against. And speaking of things that it can and can't beat, that brings us finally to usability. And for usability, I'm going to give it a 2 again, because although it's not awful, it's not even bad, I wouldn't say, it's just one of those cars that isn't given the opportunities in terms of upgrades and tuning, which it arguably deserves to have. So overall, it just would not be fair to give it a higher score, given that it's simply not as quick in really any of the classes as many of its rivals. And that's a shame, because it should be. It should have those options. But overall, that means I'm giving the Astra a tabulated score of those 5 categories put together of 48. But that's it for this pick overall. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.